Appreciate you coming on. Please come on in. There's plenty of ice cream for everyone, and I thank everyone for coming out. This is my 7th annual ice cream social that I had never thought when I did the first time, I'd have 7 of these. And it's been a real pleasure, and it's something that I think everyone enjoys, the community enjoys, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. I'm so delighted to do it. I love this tradition. Anything you can do around food, I enjoy.
Ice cream is special.
Ice cream is special.
Pancakes and ice cream.
Good way to kick off the summer.
Yeah.
So thank you all for coming. This is my 7th annual ice cream social, and it's also my campaign kickoff. And if you've ever been lucky enough, as I have, and some people in this room have been, to run for re-election, your campaign kickoff, when you think about what your re-election speech is going to be, it has 4 components. And you sit down and you write, what am I going to say different than before? Well, the first component is, I'm running for re-election. Boom, that's The second component of your speech is you did all these really great things. And the third component is you're going to do all these really great things in the next 2 years. That's why you should re-elect me. And the fourth component is vote for me again in November. And so when you sit down, you try to fill in the rest of that. And so that's my re-election speech to you all today, because today we're going to do something a little bit different. Because it's my ice cream social, it's my house, it's my rules. And so what I wanted to do today is really to pay special tribute to Bob Brink. And we've not had the opportunity to do that. We've had a lot of people here that want to say a few words about Delegate Brink and what he's meant. And I'll say some things, but I will say this. Bob, when I was elected 6 years ago, less than 6 years ago, Bob was my mentor in the House. And it was really hard for me to imagine what the House would be like without him. Because he's such a fine, upstanding member of the legislature. He's such a rock in the Arlington community. I remember when I got started in Arlington as a community activist, Bob was the delegate that I always turned to whenever it was related to health and human services or aging community and things like that. And going into it, I had Bob on such a high pedestal, if you will, because I just thought so highly of him and all that he's accomplished in his career. And we're fortunate to have his service for as long as we did. But what I want to do right now is I'm going to send it over to former Senator Margaret Whipple, who also wants to say a few words about Bob Brink.
Okay. Well, I'm just...
Welcome,
The first thing I really have to say is that I could never have stood to be in the House of Delegates. I was just not temperamentally suited to be in the House of Delegates. Bob Brink was temperamentally suited to be in the House of Delegates. Nobody had more fun in the House of Delegates than Bob Brink. We used to tease him about going around with this big grin on his face about how much fun he was having. And I think part of that is not only was he a serious legislator who actually worked in his committees and introduced good legislation and did all that kind of work, but he really enjoyed goading the Republicans. And they really didn't like it very much at all. But it was great for the rest of us. If they couldn't win on a vote, at least they could win on remarks. That was a very important function that Bob filled. He was then, sort of amazingly, appointed to be on the Appropriations Committee. And here's a little piece of, serious piece of that. Part of it was, of course, he couldn't determine the whole budget, but he was able to make some changes in ways that were really important to people and also to Arlington. We would not have DARPA in Arlington today if it were not for Bob Brink. They retaliated by taking him off privileges of elections. And I will say, to the great dismay, at least of the Democratic senators on P&E, because Janet Howell, I think I ever heard her moan as much as when she found out that Bob was going off privileges of elections, because we had counted on him to be able to carry some of the legislation that we could usually at that stage get out of the Senate. But it took somebody really hardworking and special to make a difference for that in the House of Delegates. And he was a senior member of the P&E committee and did a great job on that. Well, I mentioned earlier that he had an awful lot of fun being in the House of Delegates. And I need to tell you that just the other day, someone said, Bob is having entirely too much fun in his new job. So, for somebody who is truly optimistic, a great person, and he had yet one more thing to celebrate this week, so I should mention. Proud, brand new grandfather of his first, not his first grandchild, his first granddaughter.
Thank you. So, Karen Garner, former delegate, is here. She wants to say a few words.
Yes, I have to bring Midge along with me, so that's okay. I get to tell you all that when I ran for election the first time, it was a special election following the untimely and very early death of Warren Stambo. And it was done during Thanksgiving. And the primary, we had 2 weeks. I will say there's something to be said about primaries for 2 weeks and general elections for a month. It can be heaven when it's over with. But the Brink household became Operation Central, and from the very beginning, and it meant a great deal to me personally, because they were such. In fact, I borrowed Bob's cell phone at that time, and this was 2000. No, actually, it was 1990. Yeah, December, Thanksgiving in December of 1990. And so it was his cell phone, which was a big sucker, you know, that I had with me. And sometimes I just had no idea how to use it. But needless to say, he was always helping along the way. But what I do remember is something actually that Bob said right after he was elected to the House of Delegates, and it was before he had taken office. And he was down in Richmond, and it was in the evening walking around the Capitol. I will say to you, take a walk around the Capitol sometimes in the evening. It's quite an inspirational place. And he noticed the lights on, and he went to take a look inside the House gallery and the House chamber, and he saw the roll of the members of the House of Delegates with his name, which was kind of cool to see your name up there. And then he thought about the legacy that preceded him. And as he noted, about the only time that he was voting in the majority from then on was for roll call. But what was important is that he was always there, and his vote always meant a great deal, no matter which side it was on and for which issue it was. It was Bob's vote that was made with great care, great research, great concern about the Commonwealth. And that's one of the things that the legislature as a whole often forgets, that it is for the Commonwealth of this Virginia that we are there, and he operates that way. And it's a great gift, I think, to the rest of the state that now he's working in the department, and it's in working for a population that needs very much to have his concerns and his expertise there. So I love the fact that he's there, continuing to nudge and perhaps work with lots of people who can be on the other side, whether it's on the other side of an issue or on the other side of a party. But I appreciate it and love him to death. Thank you.